And if you want to see the figure of Christ from the world, the easiest way to see the figure of Christ is to find out what the cross represents. Because the summation of the essence of Christ is tied to his death, burial, and resurrection. I've taught you here many times. 1 Corinthians 15 from verse 1 to verse 4. Paul was teaching. And here is what Paul said. Moreover, brethren, I declare unto you the gospel which I preach, which also you have received, wherein you stand. Victorious men stand there. Verse 2, by which also you are saved, if you will keep in memory what I have preached unto you, unless you have believed in vain. What did he preach? For I deliver unto you first that which also I received, how that Christ died according to the scriptures. Verse 4, and he was buried, and he rose from the dead. This was the capsule that contained the revelation of Jesus: the death, the burial, and the resurrection. But you see, the focus of Paul is not for you to just believe that Jesus died. The focus of Paul is not for you to just believe that he was buried. The focus of Paul is not for you to believe that he rose from the dead. That's a history class. The focus of Paul is for you to understand the implication of the death, the burial, and the resurrection. When you see that implication, you have seen Christ. Because that implication is the revelation of Christ. And when you look at this story, the first thing you are going to extract from here is the love of the Father. Because Jesus is the representation of the love of the Father. That's what this story captures. So you read Romans 8:32. Paul said that if he did not withhold his only begotten son, but gave him freely for us, how shall he not with him give us all things? John was speaking in John 3:16. He said, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, that whosoever believeth in him shall not perish. So death, burial, and resurrection is not to equip you with a history lesson. It's to unveil to you the love of God. That God in his majesty was willing to surrender his glory and to step into the earth and to die like a criminal. And he didn't do that for himself, that he did that for you. The moment it becomes reasonable to you, the love of God will be awoken in your heart. That love of God becomes the tangible dimension of Jesus that you have. That love becomes the revelation of Jesus that you have. This is why 1 John 4:8 says God is love. Because the summary of this message is love. I am God. If man falls, I can create another one. I am God. If man sins, he can be destroyed. I can continue with my agenda. But for me to stop my program, for me not to create another entity, but to go to save man. And saving man is not just me sitting on my throne and say be saved. Saving man means somebody will die in his place. And I check the whole universe, nobody qualifies to die. If anybody will die, it has to be another man. And God looks at the angel, all of them were bowing down. Holy, holy, holy. The whole heaven were worshiping, holy, holy, holy. And God abandons that worship, and God leaves his throne, and God steps down from his throne, and God enters the womb of a woman, and God is there, hungry like a man. When the woman eats, God eats. When the woman does not eat, God does not eat. When the woman is sick, God is sick. When the woman is tired, God is tired. And God remained there for 9 months. When God was about to be born, they threatened to kill God. They had to run with God to Egypt for God not to be killed. And God was in Egypt, and God suffered in Egypt and waited for the king to die. After the king died, they brought God back, and God was suffering like every man, and God was growing like every man. Do you know what it looks like when Jesus looked at heaven and he still sees all the angels bowing? Meanwhile, when they were bowing, that's when the Pharisees were dragging him. Who do you say you are again? We will kill you today. And Jesus stands in between. I'm the one they are worshiping in heaven, yet I'm the one they are dragging, they are disgracing. Do you know when Jesus was on the cross and he looked into heaven, angels were still bowing down, angels were still worshiping. The same one that they are worshiping in heaven was hanging naked on earth, and they are mocking him. And he has the power to jump down and say, I don't tire, enough is enough. But he remained there, not because the cross held him, he held the cross. Do you know why it's difficult for you to trust God for breakthrough? Do you know why it's difficult for you to trust God for deliverance? It's because you have not seen Jesus. If you have seen him through the love of God, you will talk the same thing Paul said. If he did not withhold his only begotten son, if he gave him freely for us, how shall he not give us all things? So a man is going to trust God for an addiction to break. He thinks it's so big. A man is trusting God for breakthrough. He thinks it's so big. What else can God give that is greater than Jesus? The revelation of the love of Jesus is what substantiates the message of the death, burial, and resurrection. And the day you will see that, nothing will be too big anymore. Believe me, if you see that, your crisis will vanish. If you see that, your fear will disappear. If you see that, nothing will be too big for you to ask. And that's not all. That same history class reveals something to us. The wisdom of God. So when the apostle said Jesus is the love of the Father, they are talking from somewhere. He is the definition of love manifested. When the apostle say Jesus is the wisdom of God, they are saying something deep. You know why? When he came to earth, Satan thought if we kill him, it's over. So they were planning how to assassinate him. Assassinate Jesus. On one occasion, Jesus spoke. He said, this commandment I have received from my Father. I have the power to lay down my life and to take it up again. No man can take my life from me. Yet they were trying to kill him. They were trying to assassinate him. They were trying to murder him until they succeeded. And when they now killed him, that was when they discovered that he actually came to die. That it is in dying that he will conquer. So when he hung on the cross, it was not weakness, it was strategy. Because except the Son of Man be lifted up, he can't draw all men to himself. So the Bible said, if the princes of this world have known, they would not have crucified. So the crucifixion, the death, the resurrection was not just love, it was also wisdom. I need to enter Hades to defeat you, but I can't enter Hades until I disconnect from my body. So when they put him on the cross, he was on a journey to Hades. It was when he entered Hades, he was even quiet. All of them gathered. We have brought him here. Show you on earth shouting and giving command. And all of them gathered together. When they all gathered together, August stood up. If I fight you in my ring, you will say I am biased. If I fight you in my realm, you will say I am biased. I came to your own realm. First, I outsmarted you by allowing you to think you killed me so that I can have access to come here. Now that I have come here, I will activate the third protocol, which is power. So what he did was that in hell, he challenged every demon. He challenged every principality. He challenged every power. And he subdued all of them. And when he subdued them, he collected the key of death. He collected the key of the grave. He collected the key of hell. And he rose up and carried the key with him. So right now, Satan is in hell. He doesn't have the key. Right now, Satan is in the grave, but he doesn't have the key. Right now, Satan threatens with death, but he doesn't have the key. And when he collected the key, that was when we discovered he didn't need it. He handed it over to the disciples. All power in heaven and on earth has been given to me. You go in that power. You go in that power. So if you want to know Jesus, you will know the love of God. That God could give his best for you. If you want to know Jesus, you need to know the wisdom of God. That even what appears to be weakness is a divine strategy. That's why in your life, you may be going through a prison. It's later you will discover that prison is shortcut. How many years would they have taken Joseph to become prime minister? It would not have happened. All his brothers that were senior to him, they came to bow to him. So the prison was actually divine wisdom, and it was divine shortcut. You thought that Joseph was suffering. Joseph was not suffering. Joseph was going through a shortcut. And many years later, Joseph turned and looked at his brothers and said, you meant it for evil. God meant it for good. He sent me ahead of you to save a generation. So you want to see Jesus? You see him through the gospel. And when you see the gospel, you will see Jesus as the love of God. You will see Jesus as the wisdom of God. You will see Jesus as the power of God. And with these three things, nothing can bring you down. As I am now, there's nothing that I can't ask God for. Because every time I come before God, I weigh what I want to ask with Jesus. Which one is bigger? Jesus is bigger. If he gave Jesus, he will give me. My prayer has finished. When I come before God, whatever I am going through, when I pray and God says it is well, I compare the calamity I'm going through as a channel of achieving what God said with the calamity Jesus went through and the channel it was to achieving what he was supposed to get. I realize that what I'm going through is nothing. It is divine wisdom. And when I go through anything and I consider the power that rose Jesus from the dead, I know that cancer is too small. Cancer can be dematerialized. I know that lameness is too small. I know that deafness is too small, because Jesus is the love of God. Jesus is the wisdom of God. Jesus is the power of God. And you will never have been able to see it except through the message of the death, the burial, and the resurrection of Jesus. This is the foundation of our faith. That's why for anybody to receive anything from God, these truths must become real to him. What I'm sharing with you, it won't make sense until you go before God and you have a request. Believe me, if you have not understood the message and you have not been able to see the love, the wisdom, and the power of God, both your prayer and what you are asking for will look like nonsense to you. You will have anxiety. If it's not coming, you'll be afraid. We came back from Oji River last month. Many people, God's servant, wanted to build a tent for the conference. 10 days to event. Building has not gone up. Some people came and tapped him and said, we appreciate your love and zeal for God. But for now, let's advise. Take this to another location. When you are at rest, you can come back to this project. What did he know? That he went ahead and the building stood, the conference happened. See, the difference between the manifestation of two believers is how much meaning they have made out of the gospel. Those who have seen love there, nothing is too big for them to expect from God. Those who have seen wisdom there, nothing they go through can break them. If Jesus went to hell and God still achieved what he wanted to achieve, that prison is too small to stop you. That gang up is too small to stop you. Because the wisdom manifested for Jesus to route the throne through the grave, no wisdom beats it. And if Jesus could rise from the grave after 3 days, there's nothing on earth that can defy God's power. That means God's power can handle anything. This is why the first protocol of receiving from God is to see Jesus. And when you see Jesus, you will see him as the love of God. John said in 1 John 4:8, he said, God is love. Paul said in 1 Corinthians 1:23-25, he said, Christ is the wisdom of God and the power of God. It was the death, burial, and resurrection that brought that picture to life. Now, when you see that picture, then you go to the second protocol. The second protocol is the protocol of asking. Because listen, that you need it does not mean it will just happen. This realm is only those who ask that receive. Jesus was teaching. He said, ask, you will receive. He said, seek, you will find. And he said, knock, the door will be open to you. And he went further to buttress it. He said, for whoever asketh receives, whoever seeketh shall find. And he said, whoever knocketh, to him the door shall be open. You know what that means? You don't receive by default. Doors don't open by default. When you find people walking in the realm of open doors, they have mastered the technology of asking. In John now, I think 16 verse 23, Jesus said, until now you have asked for nothing. He said, ask and receive, that your joy might be complete. Welcome, sir. Until now you have asked for what? Nothing. Ask and receive. And then he went further. He said, whatsoever you ask in my name. So the people that you see who have, they don't have because they are special. That was the deception that ruined my life for many years. When I saw some people carry certain things, I say, oh, God loves this person. God is merciful to this person. See what God has done for him. And then I foolishly begin to ask God, when is my turn? Nobody has a turn. You take the one you want. The word is Catalambano. You wait for your turn. There are over 8 billion people on earth. Even if they are doing turn by turn every day, when will your turn come? I realized in this kingdom, it is the violent that takes it what? By force. Somebody is sick. He has not seen Christ. And then even when he sees Christ, he lies down there and says, when God comes, God can come, you will remain sick. God can come, you will die. Peter was sinking in the presence of Jesus. And Jesus was watching. Because there is a law that governs the realm. Until Peter cried, Master, save me. Immediately the Bible says Jesus rushed. That means God can rush if you know how to cry. God can rush if you know how to ask. All the people that are saying, if it will happen, it will happen. Why has it not happened?